that Yunara is about to drop around 2 weeks from now, I decided to take a look at everything Riot has put out to figure out what their next moves might be. Obviously, I'm also considering the leaks. Let's get into it. For those of you who love the Darken and were disappointed by Neferi or by the fact we never really got a proper conclusion to the new Darken War shown in the What If timeline with Kael and Ryze in Legend of Runeterra, we've got this mysterious Darken who's Yunara's patron. He was first mentioned in the stuff involving LeBlanc and Otacon, like that minigame The Demon's Hand and the cinematic A Dark Gambit, but his actual first appearance was in the comic The Devoted Shrine Maiden. When it comes to personality, even though he's a Darken, he preferred to keep to himself instead of trying to conquer the world or spread chaos like his siblings. He was even seen as some kind of protective spirit by the Ionians. He was so whatever about everything that he straight up just dismissed Yunara when she begged him for help.
Oh, great spirit, foul beings have brought war and misery to my home.
This is not my concern.
Apparently, his whole distant and indifferent vibe is his way of trying not to fall into the same nature that the other Darken ended up embracing, all that madness and reckless slaughter. For the Darken, mortal lives are completely meaningless. It's like they see people as worms or pets that are just there to worship and obey them, purely for entertainment. It seems like Yunara's patron still holds on to that more noble and dignified side of what it meant to be an Ascendant. To put it in another way, it's like he didn't get hit as hard by the post-traumatic stress that the other Darken went through after the Akathian Rebellion, the Rise of the Void, and the collapse of the Empire after Azir died and the Sun Disk fell. He hates the cruel massacres and the evil stuff that the Darken are known for, and because he despises the behavior, he agrees to fight alongside Yunara. He even ends up feeling guilty after the conflict ends, calling Yunara a friend and treating her with formal respect. That whole apology happens because he lied to her about his identity, revealing that he's actually the same race as the enemies they just fought, and choosing to isolate himself in the spirit realm, because in the end, he couldn't overcome his nature. And if Yunara's enemies were now his enemies too, that meant he was an enemy to everyone. So yeah, basically to avoid going insane like the rest of the Darken, he chose to isolate himself. A curious thing is that in the comic, we don't see him sealed in a weapon. First, we see what looks like an altar or a totem, where Yunara kneels and pleads for his help. Then, it seems like he possesses her, because we see her eyes glowing while two different versions of herself are talking inside her head. The left side represents Yunara, and the right side is the Darken. In the third part, we see the Darken, now bound to Yunara, going into battle across Ionia. And dude, being real, he looked way more like a ghost. He seriously reminded me of a JoJo stand with the way he appeared. And the craziest part is, even though he was fully materialized, there was no sign of any weapon. He was fighting with his bare hands. The fourth and final form is when he confesses and says goodbye. That's when we see he actually wears a mask or helmet, and he looks like a man with long light hair and strong features, unlike most Darken, who usually lean toward more beast-like or anthropomorphic designs, ever since their Ascension days. But it's not rare to have an Ascended or Darken with more human looks. Varus and Zolani are proof of that. According to the League wiki, only after this Darken exiled himself to the spirit realm did he end up contained in that glaive and watch over Yunara, which brings up two pretty interesting questions. The first is, did his mental state start breaking down after being sealed for so long? When he told Nasus to seal them inside the tomb with Xerath. And after all the time trapped in the dark, plus Xerath's manipulation, he snapped and ended up hating Nasus and totally lost it. The second question is that we know moon magic can undo what sun magic does, and it also lets stuff pass into the spirit realm. That was actually used to make Darken lose their physical bodies and become fully spirit bound to their weapons. But did someone go into the spirit realm and use moon magic to bind Yunara's master into the glaive? Or did he already know how the sealing worked and did it to himself? Did he teach Yunara and ask her to do it? Did Maisha go into the spirit realm and seal him herself? We're only gonna find out when Yunara's full biography drops. Same with the Darkens. Yeah, he's basically already confirmed to be the next champion after Yunara. Big Bad Bear, the leaker who's pretty much never wrong, showed off some concept art by Victor Kios. That gives us a pretty solid idea of how this champion might look in game. And according to the leaks, this Darken is going to have a light bluish gray skin, lots of gold adornments, and shoulder armor with a floating built-in cape. Big Bad Bear guessed he'll hit PBE on August 12th. Considering the Ionia themed season ends on the 27th, that's probably when the third season starts. We don't know for sure what his role or lane will be, but a ton of players are hoping he ends up being a support. A lot of people think it's unlikely since his weapon seems super aggressive and all, but remember, Pike exists. One last fun fact about the Glaive Darken is that LeBlanc already had a host planned for him. It was that that dude from the Masquerade Ball in the Welcome to Noxus cinematic. Katarina was sent by Swain to kill him, just to ruin LeBlanc's plan. And apparently, the one who tipped off Swain was Vladimir, who, as we see at the end of the same cinematic, seemed really freaked out about LeBlanc messing with the Darkin, probably because of what he's already been through with one, even though he managed to absorb his master's life essence in the end. That even helps explain something from the short story Everywhere and Everyone, where one of LeBlanc's clones noticed Vladimir sneaking around while looking at the immortal bastion. She even wonders if he spent the night partying with nobles tied to the Crimson Circle. But at the end, she questions who could possibly be important enough for Vlad to be acting all secretive, hiding under a hood and constantly checking if he's being followed. Oh, and just so you know, all that info about the host, Vlad's sphere, and so on, came from Necrit, who was invited by Riot, along with other YouTubers, to visit Riot headquarters, where they shared more details about the direction of the ongoing lore. According to what he said, the third season will focus on Demacia and introduce a new champion from there with the title Rose Knight. He's got red hair and is confirmed to be a support champ dropping later this year. Demacia has actually been getting teased since the LeBlanc teaser where Jarvan 1 is killed by Sion while LeBlanc watches, smiling. Then, in Everywhere and Everyone, LeBlanc is undercover near the royal palace, acting like a gardener and even spotting Xin Zhao walking through the gardens, who ended up being the focus of season 2. It's likely that once the Ionia season ends, Xin Zhao will head back to Demacia after resolving his emotional conflict, and that'll be the kickoff for the Rose Knight and the new Demacia arc. I don't think that it's going to focus on the Mage Rebellion since that already happened and wrapped up, but we'll definitely see some of those themes again, like how Demacians are reacting now that mages are asking for you to like the video. Subscribe to the channel and become a member to get access to cool things such as choosing a video topic and early access to videos. Now back to the themes for the new season, like how Demacians are reacting now that the mages have their own city, with Lux kind of acting like the leader, organizing things there. At least that's how it went in Mage Seeker. Anyway, maybe the Rose Knight is one of the guys from the Imperial ship who came to Ionia with Xin Zhao. Dude, we've got a Spirit Blossom going on, right? Blossoms, roses, or let's speculate a bit more boldly. What if he's some kind of Demacian soldier who now uses magics while serving in the army? That would be a pretty cool shift in their military. The closest thing we had to mages serving were some kind of mage hunters who chose to capture and hunt their own rather than suffer the same fate. If I had to describe what the Rose Knight probably looks like, I'd say he's got that handsome male champ vibe, like Tarek, someone who really cares about his appearance, but with a more honorable aura. Classic Demacia energy, especially if he has a role that demands duty, discipline, and responsibility. Think Rugonis from the Saint Seiya. That's the kind of image I'm talking about. Now, when it comes to abilities, I've got two ideas. First, he might use roses of different colors, each with its own unique effect on enemies, kind of like Pisces Aphrodite from Saint Seiya. The red ones, Royal Demon Roses, deal damage and inflict a sleep-like debuff from their lethargic poison. The darker ones, Piranha Roses, can shred through materials like a swarm attacking prey. And the white one, the Bloody Rose, pierces your chest and drains your blood slowly as it turns red. My second idea, and probably the one that's closer to what we'll actually get in League, is something like Byakuya from Bleach, a melee champ like Fiora or Xin Zhao, with all his skills having rose or flower effects. Also, it's been a hot minute since Demacia got a new champ. The last one was Silas back in January 24, 2019. Yeah, it's time. I'm gonna bring up Everywhere and Everyone again, which shows some stuff after Darius' controversial win over Trundle. LeBlanc in disguise talks about how the Freljordian priests from the Prae Glacius advised the Noxian settlements on how to operate in Freljord, like which routes were safe or how to exploit troll tribe customs, which is exactly what Darius did. Now those priests are eyeing Darius and his assistants while whispering among themselves. The dude's just clenching his teeth, cursing everybody out, and freezing his ass off even while wrapped in furs, sitting right by the fire. Normally just touching true ice would be enough to kill someone. Either way, this supposed alliance might already be over, or not, since it changes the original storyline, where Darius was sent to Freljord by Borum Darkwill and didn't come back victorious. Unlike now, we're in that shitty but canon skin, Prestige Triumph General Darius. Since they're dropping so many Freljord hints, I'm almost sure it's the next region after Demacia. One solid clue is an interaction with Otacon you can actually see in-game when a Freljordian champ gets close to him.
Child of the warrior, I remember.
In case you don't know, Vorejard is the ancient name of what became Freljord. It was created by Volibear and his siblings. But now the question is, what exactly does Otacon remember? We know he's insanely knowledgeable after roaming Runeterra for centuries, going wherever there was war so he could feed. And Freljord's always been full of conflict, with rival tribes constantly fighting for land or just trying to survive in a brutal place, where violence is often the only option. Most of them are warriors born and raised, kinda like the Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z. So, who's the next champ from there gonna be? I think of a Prae Glacius. We We've seen other champs join Ash's tribe, like Tryndamere and Braum, and Sejuani's got Olaf and Udyr, though Udyr's kind of on his own now. Lysandra only has Trundle on her side, so it would totally make sense to have a champ from her tribe. Maybe some officer of the Frostguard, or a fanatical follower, or maybe even a new demigod, like the Seal Sister. She gets mentioned in the stories a lot, but honestly, I doubt it's her. Based on how Freljord's demigods are usually designed, they're all animals or close to beast folk, and knowing how Riot leans into sexualizing female champs, a seal with boobs just makes me think of Primariana from Pokemon. That would totally be a flop if they're trying to cash in hard right now. A lot of players already pointed out that Riot's clearly desperate and smashed the glass to hit the emergency button. They even made a skin where Ahri's just wearing a towel, inviting you to hop into a hot spring bath with her. I'm not too sure if she's a part of the new dating sim style novel that's launching in the client this July, where you kind of go on dates with champs, similar to what happened in the first Spirit Blossom event, which even became a meme when Lilia told the player to strip. This is probably going to end up being Riot's most profitable move ever. Anyway, I really don't think the Seal Sister is the next champ, because she's got to be an actual monster or beast, not a monster girl like Belvethor of Astaya. And I'm guessing Riot just wants to keep releasing eye candy champs for now. But yeah, that's basically it. See you in the next video.